The trucks skid to a halt, gravel crunching under tires, dust curling into the morning air like smoke from an invisible fire. They tumble out, boots scraping against the rough ground, muscles stiff from the endless ride across the countryside. The wind carries a strange crispness, a cold so sharp it bites at their cheeks, unfamiliar and disorienting. They expect shouting, chains, perhaps blows for hesitation, but none comes. Instead, the guards move with quiet efficiency, herding them toward a series of low, wooden buildings. Their eyes widen. The barracks are not Spartan or fortified with barbed wire, at least, not entirely. They are orderly, clean, almost, functional in a way that seems too deliberate. Paths wind between the buildings, swept clean, lined with neatly trimmed grass. A few men glance at each other, exchanging looks of disbelief. They had imagined America as chaos incarnate, a land that had been softened by wealth but hardened by war. What they see now contradicts every story, every rumor, every propaganda leaflet. It is a place that moves with precision. And it is still, uncomfortably, calm. They march forward, their footsteps echoing on the paved walkways, hearts drumming against ribs as though they sense an invisible tension. Then it hits them. The windows of one building, close now, glow with light and activity. They lean forward, squinting, trying to see what is happening inside. Figures sit at desks. Small figures. Children. Writing. Laughing quietly. Moving with focus, with purpose. Schools. Schools inside a prison camp. The thought freezes them. They stop in their tracks. The guards bark instructions, low and mechanical, but their words are drowned out by the pounding of disbelief. Schools? Children? In a place meant to contain enemies, to strip away humanity, to punish? How can this be real? The men glance at each other, some mouths opening, then closing again. Some laugh, bitterly, in disbelief. This is not a trick, they tell themselves. It cannot be. It is impossible. The air smells faintly of chalk and paper, mingled with the metallic tang of machinery in the distance, and it carries with it a new kind of tension, one that is not fear of punishment, but of confusion. Every instinct screams that something is off. They had come here expecting hardship, hunger, misery, but this is neither. They are confronted with a paradox. Pause here, imagine arriving in an enemy country, expecting only misery, and seeing what you thought impossible. If this shock grabs you, hit subscribe and follow as they step deeper into this unimaginable world. They are guided along the path, heads lowered, still staring at the glowing windows. Small desks, children bent over them, pencils scratching paper, it is almost normal, almost mundane. Yet the impossibility makes it extraordinary. Their minds race. Were these schools part of some propaganda effort? A way to lull prisoners into submission? But the precision, the genuine attention of the teachers, the laughter of the children, it feels authentic, not staged. They pass another building, and this one is larger, more imposing. The windows here reveal rows of desks, books stacked neatly at the edges. Men pause to look in again. The room is bright, airy, filled with motion. American flags hang quietly in the corner, an emblem of the nation's identity in the background of something that should feel foreign, alien, even wrong. And yet, it doesn't feel wrong. It feels organized, purposeful. Efficient. Almost human. The men notice small details, the children's shoes polished, the crisp lines of their uniforms, the teachers moving silently between desks, correcting papers, guiding young hands. It is not military efficiency. It is methodical, deliberate civility, a civilization operating within the walls of a prison camp. Each observation adds weight to their disbelief. They had been taught that the enemy had no care for education, no concern for nurturing the young. Here, they see the opposite: care, planning, structure. One man whispers, low, almost afraid to speak, "Is this real?" They exchange uncertain glances. No one answers. The question lingers, heavy in the air, as if speaking it aloud would shatter the fragile illusion of reality. The men have been trained to see America as chaos, indulgence, brutality. And yet, standing here, they see order, structure, schools. And they are forced to confront a terrifying truth: the enemy is capable of sophistication, of humanity, even within captivity. The guards lead them onward, past playgrounds where children skip quietly, their laughter muffled but present, bouncing off the walls of the surrounding barracks. The POWs cannot look away. Every detail, the clean paths, the careful organization, the small joys of youth, burns itself into their memories. Their minds try to rationalize it, to reduce it to something ordinary, something explainable. But no explanation fits. This is America. And it is unlike anything they've ever imagined. Consider this: what would it do to your worldview if the enemy you were taught to despise built schools in the middle of a prison camp? If this challenges your assumptions, leave a comment below and subscribe to continue exploring the astonishing reality these POWs face. By the time they reach the next barracks, the shock has settled into a tense contemplation. Their feet ache, their minds whirl, and yet every step feels heavier than the last. The realization dawns: these schools are not accidents. They are deliberate. They are purposeful. America does not just detain, it educates, nurtures, and plans for the future. Even for enemies. Even for prisoners. And that understanding, incomprehensible as it is, begins to reshape the way they see everything: the camp, the guards, the land, and even the concept of America itself. The morning sun pierces through thin clouds, casting long shadows over the camp as they are marched to a new section, farther from the barracks they'd been shown yesterday. The air is colder here, carrying a faint scent of wood polish and chalk dust, mixed with the metallic tang of the fences and guard towers. They are silent, marching in step, but their eyes dart to the buildings ahead, smaller structures with low roofs and wide doors, distinctly different from the barracks. These are clearly designed for a different purpose. Before they reach the entrance, they hear it, the faint, rhythmic tapping of pencils against desks, punctuated by soft laughter, the occasional rustle of paper. The sound is alien. It is joy in a place they had associated only with confinement. They freeze, instinctively scanning the area. Inside the buildings, through open doors and high windows, they see rows of small desks, tiny chairs, and figures bent over their work. Not adults. Children. They stop dead. Their boots sink slightly into the dirt path, their breath forming clouds in the morning chill. How can there be children here, in a prison camp? Their minds struggle to reconcile the rigid order of captivity with the lightness and laughter of youth. They had come expecting strict discipline, cold stares, punishment. Instead, they see curiosity, focus, and playful whispers. Inside the classrooms, children write and draw with concentration. Some raise hands to ask questions. Teachers, calm and deliberate, move between desks, offering guidance without raising their voices. The men watch, collectively stunned. The scene feels almost unreal, like a memory stolen from a different world. Every detail, the chalk dust hanging in the air, the scratch of pencils on paper, the faint creak of floorboards, is heightened in their perception. The men are led along the corridor, past the classrooms, catching glimpses of bright faces and small hands eagerly scribbling in notebooks. One child glances up briefly, eyes wide, curious, before returning to the page. Another laughs softly at a mistake, corrected gently by a teacher. The POWs exchange uneasy glances. They had been taught that the Americans were ruthless, self-indulgent, and careless of human life. Now, these classrooms suggest a level of care and structure that defies every expectation. Pause for a moment. Imagine walking into a prison camp and seeing children learning and laughing. How would it challenge your assumptions? If this surprises you, hit subscribe and continue following their journey. Some men notice small objects on the desks, wooden rulers, stacks of books, maps of the United States pinned to the walls. Everything is organized, deliberate, almost meticulous. The children move through their lessons efficiently, as if trained to maximize every minute. And yet, the atmosphere is light. The juxtaposition of freedom within confinement is disorienting. The POWs had never considered that a camp could educate, that the enemy could simultaneously contain and nurture. Through a wide doorway, they see another classroom entirely devoted to arts. Children sit with paints and brushes, carefully sketching landscapes, buildings, even portraits. A few glance up as the POWs pass, their faces filled with curiosity and trust, unafraid. For the first time, some of the men feel a pang of something foreign, longing. Memories of their own childhoods, the schools they had left behind, flash briefly, the smell of ink, the clatter of desks, the faint warmth of a sunlit classroom. They continue past the classrooms into a courtyard where older children sit in groups on benches, reading aloud in unison. The rhythm of their voices carries through the air, mingling with the sounds of the camp yet distinct in its calm order. The POWs watch, silent, realizing that this structure, the lessons, the schedules, the care, extends beyond the walls. The entire camp has been designed to maintain continuity of learning, even amidst imprisonment. A teacher steps outside briefly, adjusting a stack of books, and catches sight of the POWs. There is no fear, no resentment in her glance. Instead, there is acknowledgement of presence, and then a return to her work. The POWs sense something profound. This is not an attempt at intimidation. It is a system designed to function regardless of prisoners, yet the prisoners are witnesses to it, and involuntarily participants in the structure of order. Some men hesitate, glancing at each other. Could this be some subtle form of indoctrination? Or is it genuine? The lines blur. They had been trained to see propaganda in every gesture, every smile, every organized activity. Yet the simplicity and authenticity of the children's focus challenges that mindset. The men begin to realize that education here is not merely a tool of control, but a reflection of a philosophy, that even in the midst of conflict, order, care, and development persist. The men are moved to a small observation room where they can watch a lesson without being intrusive. A map lesson is underway, students point to states, rivers, and mountains, reciting names aloud. Their voices, clear and confident, resonate across the quiet hall. The POWs are silent. Each word, each carefully measured motion of the students, reinforces the paradox of this place, a prison camp that allows, even fosters, intellectual growth. Think about it. How does it feel to confront an enemy that is so organized and humane, even inside a camp designed for confinement? If this surprises you, leave a comment and subscribe to continue this eye-opening journey. By the end of the day, the POWs are no longer focused on the barracks or the fences. Their attention is on the schools themselves, on the children who move through lessons with care and focus, and on the teachers who maintain an impossible balance of discipline and encouragement. They begin to see that this is a country that plans for the future, even in war, and that its power extends far beyond what they had been trained to fear. The schools are not merely functional, they are a symbol, a reminder that this enemy is organized, deliberate, and forward-thinking. As they return to their sleeping quarters, the men are quiet. No one speaks, words feel inadequate. They are processing, collectively, a new reality. The images of children learning, of classrooms filled with life and curiosity, will linger far longer than the fences or the guards. For the first time, the POWs feel that the enemy is not only powerful in war, but powerful in culture, intellect, and order. The doors creak as they are guided into a new building, a space that immediately smells of books, ink, and polished wood. They shuffle across the worn wooden floor, eyes darting across walls lined with shelves overflowing with textbooks, workbooks, and neatly stacked papers. The light is soft but steady, streaming through tall windows and illuminating rows of small desks. Unlike the barracks, this place feels alive, not in the way of idle chatter or restless movement, but in a quiet, purposeful hum of learning. They are herded to one side, allowed to observe, but not touch. A teacher moves down the center aisle, her steps measured and confident, guiding the children in lessons that range from arithmetic to geography. The POWs watch as students read aloud from books, hands tracing lines of text with precision. One group is reciting a poem, their voices rising and falling in rhythm. Another sketches maps of Europe, filling borders and rivers with care. The attention to detail, the discipline, the focus, it is unlike anything the POWs have seen. They exchange glances, unspoken communication passing between them. Their training, their experiences of war, had never prepared them for this kind of structure. Order without coercion. Discipline without fear. It is a quiet authority, embedded in routines, in expectations, in the very way the rooms are arranged. Every child, every desk, every lesson seems to function as part of a larger system, and they begin to understand that these classrooms are not just for passing time, they are carefully constructed, purposeful, a tool of education and efficiency even within a prison camp. A boy raises his hand, asking a question about the waterways of Germany. The teacher nods and guides him patiently. The POWs watch, noting the precision of the teacher's movements, the gentle correction, the quiet insistence on understanding rather than obedience. Some men feel an unexpected pang, a memory of their own childhoods, of teachers in distant towns back home, rises unbidden. The nostalgia is uncomfortable, mixing uneasily with the disbelief that this exists here, for them to witness, in a camp designed to contain enemies. They are led through a corridor, where they glimpse other classrooms. One room is devoted entirely to science. Diagrams of human anatomy pinned to boards, small models of machinery and basic physics experiments carefully set up. The POWs' eyes widen. In their experience, camps exist to punish, to deprive, to maintain control through fear. Yet here, they see curiosity encouraged, knowledge fostered, and systems of learning meticulously applied. Even for prisoners. Think about this. How would it feel to witness an enemy not only holding you captive but investing in education while doing so? If this surprises you, drop a comment below and subscribe to follow how the POWs' perceptions continue to shift. In another room, children sit in small groups, working on writing exercises. They are instructed to draft letters to imaginary pen pals in distant towns, practicing communication skills, clarity of thought, and expression. The POWs notice the irony. These children, inside the confines of a camp, are learning to reach beyond boundaries, to communicate across distance. The symbolism is not lost on them. The ice cream ships had represented abundance, the railroad's efficiency, but these lessons, these classrooms, represent intellect, culture, and planning for the future. The realization that education is intertwined with order, even for prisoners, begins to settle in their minds. A teacher briefly glances toward them. There is no fear in her eyes, only acknowledgement. Her calm, composed demeanor reinforces what they are beginning to understand: this is not for show. This is not propaganda staged for prisoners' eyes. It is real. It is a functional system. The children, absorbed in their lessons, do not notice them. They do not need to. The structure itself carries the purpose. The POWs are witnesses to a nation that has built discipline into its foundations, not through coercion alone, but through education and order. They are guided into another area, where older students are learning languages. French, Spanish, and English texts are scattered across the desks. Teachers alternate between languages, instructing pronunciation, grammar, and vocabulary. The POWs are struck by the sophistication of the curriculum. In their homeland, language instruction is rare, reserved for the elite or military purposes. Here, it is available to every child, in every classroom, even within a prison camp. This access to knowledge contradicts everything they had believed about American society: wasteful, indulgent, and unstructured. Pause. Imagine watching a system so carefully orchestrated that even prisoners and children in a camp benefit from knowledge and opportunity. If this amazes you, share your thoughts below and subscribe to witness the next revelation. They move further, into a workshop area where students learn practical skills, woodworking, metalwork, and sewing. Machines hum, tools are used carefully, and safety seems paramount. The POWs notice that the children handle the equipment with confidence, guided by patient instruction. It is a type of learning through doing, a direct connection between education and practical survival skills. They realize this is intentional. The camp is not just keeping prisoners compliant, it is preparing children, the next generation, for a world where knowledge, discipline, and resourcefulness will matter. Even in the smallest details, the POWs see evidence of planning: shelves labeled for specific materials, tools organized by size and function, schedules posted on walls for each class. The children move within these structures naturally, almost intuitively. It is as if the entire camp functions as a microcosm of society, teaching order, efficiency, and responsibility from childhood onward. By the time the tour concludes, the POWs are silent. The weight of what they've seen presses against their chests. They had expected punishment, deprivation, chaos, but instead, they've witnessed intellect, discipline, and education intertwined with captivity. The realization is humbling. This is a country that not only survives but plans, that invests in future generations, even in the midst of war. The lessons extend far beyond classrooms. They infiltrate the way the camp operates, the way society functions, the way Americans maintain structure and purpose in every facet of life. As they return to the barracks, the images of children writing, experimenting, and creating linger. The POWs no longer focus solely on confinement. Their minds have been opened to the unexpected humanity and foresight of the camp. The schools are not just a building, they are a testament to American values, a glimpse into the broader philosophy that sustains the nation. The morning sun filters through the tall windows of a new hall, casting long lines of light across polished wooden floors. They are guided to the center of the room, the doors left wide open to let the sounds of activity spill into the corridor. This part of the camp is larger, brighter, filled with children at workstations scattered across the space. Some sketch, others write, a few quietly read aloud. The POWs are allowed to move slowly along the edges, observing, but not speaking, not touching. Their eyes roam, taking in the intricate layout of the room, tables arranged in careful symmetry, shelves stocked with textbooks and materials, and corners dedicated to music and art. It is immediately clear that this is a classroom designed for active participation, not passive instruction. The children move with confidence and purpose, raising their hands, asking questions, and interacting with instructors who guide them patiently. The POWs notice how the teachers maintain order without harshness, relying on quiet authority rather than fear or intimidation. This is a lesson in control without coercion, and the men cannot help but feel the weight of the contradiction. A small group of children is practicing arithmetic, counters on the tables clicking softly under their fingers. The POWs lean closer, curiosity overpowering caution. One boy hesitates, glancing at the men before returning to his calculations. Another girl scribbles numbers with steady precision, oblivious to the outside observers. The men watch, collectively stunned, the contrast between youthful focus and the harshness of their own lives striking them deeply. One of the instructors approaches and gestures toward a stack of unused materials. The POWs are handed pencils and blank sheets of paper. For the first time, they are invited not just to observe, but to participate. Their hands hesitate over the pencils. The weight of responsibility is foreign. This is not a weapon, not a tool for labor or punishment. It is a medium of expression, learning, creation. A few men glance at each other, sharing silent skepticism. Can this be allowed? Can prisoners of war engage in such mundane, yet human, activity? Pause for a moment. Imagine being forced to question your assumptions about an enemy, confronted with unexpected trust and opportunity. If this resonates with you, subscribe to continue following their journey. They begin with small tasks, filling in numbers on worksheets, tracing letters, attempting to draw shapes. Their movements are awkward at first, the unfamiliarity of tools that are not instruments of survival or defense making them self-conscious. But gradually, hesitation gives way to a tentative engagement. The act of participating, even in something so simple, stirs emotions long suppressed by years of combat and imprisonment. There is a flicker of pride, of competence, in seeing marks appear on the page that they themselves have made. Across the room, children glance up periodically, offering shy smiles or nods of encouragement. The POWs notice it immediately. There is no fear here, no mistrust. Interaction is safe, structured, yet human. The contrast with the outside world, where every movement, every word, could carry consequences, feels almost surreal. They realize that even within captivity, they are being allowed, even encouraged, to engage with a world beyond strict military discipline. The men are then shown a small music area, where children practice simple melodies on pianos and xylophones. Some are instructed to play together, creating harmonious, coordinated sounds. The POWs stand at the edge, watching, and are invited to tap out basic rhythms themselves. Laughter erupts from both the children and a few tentative POWs as mistakes are made and corrected gently. The sound is light, almost ethereal, echoing through the hall, a stark contrast to the metallic clanging of artillery and the cries of battle they have carried in their memories. A corner is dedicated to basic craftsmanship, woodworking, metal shaping, and sewing. The POWs are invited to assist in simple tasks, sanding small wooden blocks, organizing materials, threading needles. Their hands, hardened by years of war and manual labor, are awkward at first, unfamiliar with this level of precision applied for learning rather than survival. Yet even in the smallest movements, they recognize a strange satisfaction. This is not labor under duress, it is purposeful, deliberate, and meant to create knowledge and skill. As they move through these stations, a collective feeling emerges, an uneasy curiosity, tempered with astonishment. They are prisoners, yet they are being treated with a measure of trust. They are allowed to engage, to observe closely, even to participate. Every interaction is subtle, yet it sends the same message: this camp is not just about containment. It is about maintaining order, fostering skill, and reinforcing structure, not merely punishment. Imagine being given freedom to engage within strict captivity, learning from those you were taught to despise. How would that challenge everything you thought you knew? Comment below and subscribe to witness the full transformation of perception. Throughout the morning, the POWs observe the children moving from one lesson to another with discipline. They see the attention given to each child's work, the gentle correction of mistakes, the quiet enforcement of routines. Slowly, the POWs start to notice patterns. Every activity, every lesson, is tied to purpose. The children are learning not just facts, but how to function within a system. And the POWs begin to understand, this is the same principle applied to them. The camp itself operates as a microcosm of society, a network of interdependent rules, expectations, and education designed to maintain both order and morale. By mid-afternoon, the POWs are quietly reflecting on their participation. Some sit with worksheets partially filled, others linger near the crafts area, observing with quiet fascination. The reality is sinking in, they are being offered an opportunity to witness the intelligence and intentionality behind this camp structure. Even without permission to leave, to resist, to influence, they are learning through observation and participation about a society that can function with remarkable efficiency, care, and foresight. They leave the classrooms as the bell rings, the children filing out into the courtyards for recess. The POWs follow, escorted by guards, moving silently along the paths. The lessons, the structure, and the children's energy linger in their minds. They had come expecting confinement and cruelty, yet they are leaving with an understanding that order, education, and careful planning define this camp. It is a lesson not taught with rifles or punishment, but through structure, interaction, and trust. The evening settles over the camp, and a quiet hush drifts across the grounds. The barracks glow faintly under dim bulbs, their light cutting through the chill of the fading day. They sit in small groups outside, watching shadows stretch long across the neatly swept paths. Conversation is minimal, each man lost in thought, turning over the images from the day. The classrooms, the children, the lessons they witnessed, and the opportunities for participation, they all swirl together in a haze of disbelief. They had arrived expecting misery and strict punishment. Instead, they had found order, care, and intention at every turn. They think back to the morning lessons, the children, their small hands moving with precision, the teachers, calm yet exacting, the workshops where skills were honed carefully and safely. Each moment now seems calculated, but not cruelly so. It is structured, deliberate, and purposeful. One man, glancing at a group of children practicing music in the distance, notes softly to another, "Even here, everything serves a purpose. Even their learning is connected to the world beyond these fences." Others nod quietly, understanding but uneasy. They begin to see that the camp is more than confinement. It is a reflection of philosophy, a mirror of a society that values order, foresight, and functionality. They recall the workshops where tools were used with care, the small stations for practical skills, the rhythm of lessons designed to teach discipline without fear. It is all part of a system, a network that extends beyond the camp walls. The realization settles like frost. America does not merely react to circumstances, it plans, structures, and prepares. The schools are not just for the children, they are a statement of values, an insistence that society can function even under extraordinary conditions. Pause and reflect. What would it feel like to witness an enemy using education and structured care as a subtle form of power? If this challenges your perception, subscribe and follow the journey of these POWs as they grapple with what they have learned. They think of the children again, their energy, their curiosity, their laughter. The POWs had been trained to see Americans as indulgent, reckless, focused solely on military might. Yet here, in the very heart of a prison camp, they are forced to reconsider. The values of humanity, structure, and foresight are embedded into every lesson, every activity, every corner of the camp. It is not mere indulgence. It is intentional design, a philosophy that extends to both prisoners and youth alike. As the night deepens, they are led along the perimeter for inspection. Even the fences and guard towers feel different now. Before, they had been symbols of confinement, reminders of power and control. Now, the men perceive them differently. The fences are part of a system, yes, but one that is balanced with care, education, and structure. They are beginning to see the logic. The camp teaches obedience through order, not fear. It instills discipline through example, not punishment. In the quiet of the evening, they sit on the cold ground, watching shadows of children playing in the distance. The sight is jarring, so much life, energy, and purpose in a place designed for containment. The POWs are forced to confront a new reality. This is not just a camp. It is a microcosm of society, a controlled environment that embodies American values, efficiency, education, foresight, and respect for structure. They discuss, quietly, among themselves. Could this system function anywhere else? Could it survive in their own country, in a war-torn Europe struggling to rebuild? The more they consider it, the more they realize, America is not defined solely by its military power. Its strength lies in its philosophy, its ability to plan, educate, and instill values systematically. The schools are merely a visible symbol of a much larger, invisible network that sustains the nation. Imagine realizing that the enemy you feared for years possesses not only military power but also foresight and organizational genius. If this fascinates or shocks you, leave a comment and subscribe to continue the story. The POWs also recognize something subtler, the psychological impact of the schools. Children learning in the camp create a rhythm, a structure, a calm that spreads through the entire area. It tempers the environment, influencing the prisoners, the guards, and the routines of daily life. The system teaches order, efficiency, and respect indirectly, without force or overt pressure. The POWs understand now that these schools are not just for education, they are tools for shaping behavior and thought, quietly demonstrating the philosophy of the nation. The more they reflect, the more they see that every aspect of the camp, classrooms, workshops, courtyards, even recess, is deliberate. Nothing is accidental. The lessons, the schedules, the routines, they all contribute to the same goal, maintaining function, morale, and structure, even for those who were supposed to be the enemy. And the POWs cannot help but be impressed, conflicted as they are by their situation. By the time night fully settles, their reflections deepen further. The POWs realize that this system, while bewildering and even disorienting, teaches a fundamental truth about America, that power is not just measured in arms or wealth, but in the ability to sustain society, nurture intellect, and plan for the future. The schools inside the camp are not indulgences, they are proof of the nation's philosophy, a deliberate integration of education, order, and foresight. Even in their confinement, the POWs feel the weight of what they have witnessed. The schools, the children, the lessons, the deliberate organization, they are symbols that cannot be ignored. The camp has challenged everything they had been taught about the enemy. America is not chaotic, not reckless, not indulgent in the way they imagined. It is purposeful, disciplined, and forward-thinking, and the lessons extend far beyond the children in classrooms. As they settle into the barracks, the images of chalk-dusted desks, small hands learning, and teachers guiding with calm authority remain vivid. These lessons will linger long after the war, reshaping their perceptions of the nation and its values. They came expecting punishment, deprivation, and fear, but they are leaving with a profound understanding of organization, education, and vision, a realization that will haunt, and perhaps humble, them for years to come. The evening settles over the camp, heavy with the distant hum of machinery, the soft murmur of children's voices fading into memory. They stand at the edge of the courtyard, shadows long and stretching across the carefully swept paths. Their bodies are tired, stiff from the routine of marches and the enforced precision of camp life, but their minds are restless, echoing with images that refuse to fade. The classrooms, the laughter, the meticulous order, all of it lingers. It is not merely curiosity that keeps them awake. It is the unsettling realization that their previous understanding of America, of the enemy, is incomplete, flawed, and perhaps naive. They walk slowly, feet crunching against gravel, glancing at the wooden barracks with their neat lines and orderly arrangement. The camp seems smaller now, yet more imposing in its intentional design. It is a paradox: confinement and freedom, control and care, punishment and education. The schools, those buildings full of disciplined, energetic children, dominate their thoughts. It is not just the presence of learning, it is the philosophy embedded in every detail, the deliberate balance of structure and growth. Their conversations are sparse, measured. Words feel inadequate, incapable of expressing the dissonance they carry. One man gestures vaguely toward a distant building, recalling a workshop where children had learned practical skills, woodworking, metal shaping, sewing. Everything here, he murmurs, is for a purpose beyond survival. Even the smallest lesson shapes the world outside these fences. The others nod, silent acknowledgement passing between them. The schools were never meant to entertain prisoners, they were a living testament to a society that plans for continuity, foresight, and resilience. The memory of the classrooms haunts them. Desks arranged in precise rows, children focused intently on lessons, the teachers guiding with quiet authority, correcting errors gently yet insistently, all of it challenges what they thought they knew about the enemy. These were not idle indulgences, this was methodical, deliberate care, a philosophy etched into every corner of the camp. The POWs begin to understand that the schools are more than educational, they are an expression of values, an invisible architecture of order and foresight that permeates the nation itself. Pause and reflect. Imagine being forced to reconsider everything you believed about an enemy simply by witnessing its care for the young. If this resonates, subscribe and stay with the journey as these men continue to grapple with their new understanding. They remember the children's faces, small and earnest, peering up at lessons, laughing at minor mistakes, yet always returning to focus. Those faces are imprinted in memory like a vivid contradiction. How could a nation at war, a land of immense industrial might, also foster such care, such structured attention to its youth? Their training had taught them that Americans were reckless, self-indulgent, and focused solely on power. The reality they had observed was almost too methodical, too human to reconcile with the tales they carried from Europe. Across the camp, they glance at courtyards where children once played. The swings, the chalk-drawn hopscotch grids, the laughter bouncing against the fences, these are remnants of normality in a space designed for abnormality. It is as if the humanity of America seeps outward from the classrooms, touching every corner of the camp, subtly reshaping behavior, expectation, and perception. The men notice it. Guards, once cold and distant, move with efficiency tempered by routine, schedules maintain order without harshness, the camp hums not with chaos but with purposeful motion. They recall their participation in workshops, the simple act of sanding wood or threading needles, the awkward joy of tapping out rhythms on instruments alongside children. It was never indulgence, they were never allowed to disrupt the system, but it provided a glimpse into the organized, deliberate culture of this society. That small taste of involvement, previously unimaginable, leaves an indelible impression. The POWs realize that even minimal interaction with the system demonstrates a philosophy of structure, education, and foresight. Consider this: what if the enemy you feared could teach, nurture, and maintain order while still containing you? If this challenges your perspective, comment below and subscribe to continue experiencing their story. As night falls, they sit quietly in the barracks, individually contemplating what they've witnessed. The images of children learning, crafting, and laughing replay endlessly. The orderly rhythm of the camp, the balance of confinement and education, has not only unsettled them but also planted seeds of reflection. The United States is not merely a land of military and industrial power, it is a society capable of long-term planning, structured human development, and subtle influence, even within a prison camp. Some of the men think of their own children or siblings back home, of schools abandoned or destroyed by war. The contrast is sharp. In the face of conflict, the Americans maintain not just survival but continuity, ensuring that the next generation grows with knowledge, skill, and confidence. The POWs recognize that this is a form of power far beyond the battlefield, a soft power that shapes society through order and foresight. The schools, they realize, are not anomalies, they are integral to the identity of the camp, and by extension, to the nation itself. The ice cream ships, the railroads, the workshops, they all connect in a cohesive philosophy: efficiency, order, and deliberate care. And these classrooms, the faces of children inside them, embody the principle more vividly than any ship, factory, or train could. Even as they prepare for sleep, the POWs cannot shake the weight of what they've learned. The camp's design, its schools, and its philosophy will stay with them, shaping the way they view the enemy long after the war. They came expecting hardship and cruelty. Instead, they encountered education, foresight, and an invisible structure that commands respect. They are changed, not by force, not by propaganda, but by witnessing a society capable of integrating humanity into a system of power. The night is silent except for distant murmurs of children dreaming in their beds, the faint creak of floorboards, and the whisper of wind through the camp. They lie awake, contemplating a truth that will haunt them for years: the schools were not just for the children, they were a mirror of a nation, revealing its values, its strength, and its foresight. And for them, prisoners of war, the lessons extend far beyond arithmetic or crafts, they are lessons in order, human potential, and the subtle power of structured care.